Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 40k Badcast. It's show number 14, Campbell. How about that?
That's one more than 13.
It certainly is, and 13 was the last show, so that makes sense that we do the 14th show after the 13th show. Though, hold up. It actually is the 15th episode of the 40k Badcast.
That's true. We are, if we do count the special Adepticon bonus episode.
Bonus
episode. We really should have gone with episode 16 and then had the next episode be 14 and then the episode after that be 15 to get kind of the Quentin Tarantino-esque non-linear timeline going on, but oh well.
That's a very good point. Hey, what's the 14th Legion?
Gee, let me just remember for a second here. Let me just plow through my memory here. And it's, oh man, I'm really digging through my memory for this now. It's the Death Guard. Yeah, of course, it's Death Guard.
The Death Guard. Good thing I didn't spring that on you or anything.
Oh, no, I'm prepared. I'm well-versed in the lore of what? War Machine? Warzone? Warhammer 40,000. That's it. I really wonder what happened to the first 39,999 editions, but...
Yeah. It took him 40,000 tries to get it right. So, that was the best part of that was all the typing you were doing that we totally couldn't hear.
Of course not.
Okay, well, everybody, welcome to the show. It's the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd. He's Campbell McLaughlin. We're going to talk about Warhammer 40,000 for a little bit, and I hope that you enjoy it. But let's get right into it, Campbell. Let's talk about the auspects, or what's on our hobby radar, and I'm going to start.
All right. Go right
so
ahead.
I have been doing a little bit of painting this last 2 weeks since we last recorded. I finished my second Primaris Lieutenant, who looks quite good. You know, the one with the auto bolt rifle?
Yeah, that thing's cool.
And then I'm mostly done with my first squad of Intercessors from the Dark Imperium kit. And man, I love those models.
They painting up pretty quick? Fuck, they painting up pretty quick. Pretty quack. Sorry, I got DuckTales in the brain.
Yeah, they're painting up pretty quack.
Pretty quack. Fucking burbs. The Duck Guard or the Banished Second Legion.
Okay, well, yeah, they're painting up pretty quick.
Yeah.
But fantastic models, man.
Oh, they're good models, man.
So working on those mainly. I played some games this weekend. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I'm going to make a Forge World purchase in the next couple of days.
Purchases are progress.
Yeah, on the independent characters, they are at least. I'm going to buy a Trojan and a Vulture.
I mean, I guess when Plastic Crack just isn't enough, you got to chase that Resin Dragon.
The issue, though, is that the Trojan and the Vulture benefit big time from Forge World's sort of maverick gunslinger rules writing process, where they just be like, yeah, it'll do that. And it costs how much? Cool. Whatever. Who cares? Mm-hmm. And the Trojan is extremely good at making other tanks be very, very good. And the Vulture has 2 fucking Punisher cannons on it, and it comes in at, I don't know, what is it, 70 points less than a fucking Vendetta?
For 40 shots?
For 40 shots. Well, 43, because it has a heavy bolter, too.
Can't forget that.
Don't forget that, kids. So, yeah, it's it's pretty nuts. So I'm buying both, and I'm gonna probably buy them at the same time to save on shipping, not shave on sipping. And we're both doing it today, man. Both are really good at talking. So yeah, that if that counts as progress, then that's what I'm doing.
Oh, solid.
Though I must say the Intercessors, man, just such cool models, great poses, amazing sculpts.
I'm actually, I'm glad I've got 2 sets of them, but there's people out there who've already bought 5 boxes of Dark Imperium or whatever just to get a whole army of them for as cheap as they can. But I feel like after 2 sets of them, you're going to start seeing a lot of repetition in those poses, so it's a good thing the actual models are coming out soon enough. Yeah,
well, I was thinking the other day, I'm probably going to end up getting 4 more squads of Intercessors so I can do brigade detachments with Marines at some point.
Wow, thinking ahead.
I don't know if that's going to equate to 40 more of them or only 20 more of them, but I assume that they're going to be releasing a box set soon. Well, I know they will be because in the YouTube video they just released about the Space Marine Codex, they showed pictures of new Intercessor models.
Yeah.
like in as stills in that video. So they have
like
a box ready, and I'm sure we'll see it very soon.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And then there's the little SnapFit ones if you want to keep adding to them that way. But yeah.
So what you got going on, man?
So I was right like the day we finished recording the last episode, I finished the Emperor's Champion, and I finished a squad of 5 Thunderhammer Storm Shield Terminators, which I got to use this week. But then a couple days later, I was working on a Venerable Dreadnought and a squad of regular Terminators for my Black Templars. And with those two, I'll be able to bring my army up to like 1750, 1800. And I felt this pinch in my shoulder, and a few hours later, that pinch turned into a really searing pain. So I managed to have my wrist get better and then fuck up my shoulder. So it's a carnival of pain over here in the fuck. It's a carnival of pain in the McLaughlin household. I can't help it. My last name's super Irish. It's just stumbling over consonants and
your own fucking last name. Oh, this shoulder thing's got you fucked up, huh?
I wish. I haven't even gotten anything prescribed for it yet.
Bro, that sucks, man. I'm real sorry to hear it.
Yeah, but it's whatever, man. Like, I'll get that taken care of, and you guys can quit hearing me bitch about my fucking health problem. That shit's boring. It's not fun.
Can you, like, paint it all right now?
I probably could, but I'm just playing it safe, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been working on, or trying to work on. I've heard that Storm Ravens are stupid good now, and I've got a Storm Raven built in a box of KR foam back there, and I kind of want to crack that out and lose some friends, but I only have one.
They are pretty good, though. They just got a little bit of the Nerf hammer, or the Nerf bat.
Deservedly, from what I hear.
Whereas Storm or all flyers no longer count towards your army for tabling.
Mm-hmm.
So if a guy comes to the table with a fuck ton of flyers, just kill everything else, and the flyers, even if they're still alive, he loses the game. He counts as not having anything on the board.
I'm into that. I'm really into that. Because I heard it's one of those things where you hear a lot of stories about people taking a list where it's like, 7 Storm Ravens and, a lieutenant hiding behind a rock somewhere. That's not fun.
Yeah.
That's not what's supposed to be on the table. That's not the game designed around.
Well, I like how they said, like, flyers have to go back and refuel. They can't hold terrain on their own, or they can't hold ground on their own. So, I mean, that's a real-world reason for rules, which is not something that I'm necessarily looking for a lot of in my game with space wizards and Egyptian death robots.
Mm-hmm.
But
and fungus football hooligans.
But I like it. I like the reasoning, and it makes the game a little more fair, a little more balanced.
Yeah, I mean, like I just saw Dunkirk this weekend. I know a plane is about an hour worth of fuel in it, right? So.
That movie looks pretty good. All right, I want to talk about some new releases, man. Some stuff that's getting sold this upcoming weekend. As we record this, it is the 25th of July. We'll part the kimono a little bit for you guys there. I know you guys love it when we do that.
You might as well keep that kimono like hiked up over your elbows, given how often you put peaks behind it.
Or just take it off.
Making the geishas blush.
I do like the feel of silk on my skin.
I like feeling breezy.
Okay, nice and easy, soft and breezy. Okay.
Soft and breezy.
Oh, God.
Easy beasy.
That's me. All right,
That's you.
New stuff. Redemptive Dread. Looks great. You can pop open its little carrier thing to show the sarcophagus inside. Cool design choice. I like it. Love the new chaplain and the new apothecary.
You mean Reaper?
Yeah. What, from Overwatch?
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Reaper from Overwatch,
Reaper.
I guess.
Just, even the gun looks like Reaper's stupid shotguns he throws away when he reloads.
Though I should say Games Workshop chaplains were around a long time before Reaper was. So Blizzard has a history of ripping off Games Workshop.
They do, but the trench coat and skull mask and the specific pistol just made me really think Reaper with that guy, because he does have like the late 90s goth trench coat.
I mean, that to me, that aesthetic still works on me, so I'm not complaining over here. I for the 2 weeks I played Overwatch, I learned to hate Reaper and his crazy shenanigans.
Fair.
So yeah, I love that model though, dude. Trench coat and fucking skull mask and shotguns or whatever. I love that model. I love the more understated, as you called it, the pimp cane Crozius.
Yeah. No, I dig that.
Fucking rad model.
Yeah. I like the model. I'm giving it some shit just because, I don't know, makes me think of Reaper and fucking Blade, I guess. But it looks pretty cool. The Apothecary is the winner for the characters for me, though. I like how just understated and, like, he looks grim. He looks like he's just, like, doing my job, which you don't usually see. You usually see guys,
I'm over here doing my job.
I'm fucking working here.
Just trying to get some of this fucking gene seed out of these dead guys.
Just progenoids, day in, day out.
How about you kill those guys over there so they stop shooting at me, huh?
I like the model. It's good. I knew it was coming because there was the artwork in the back of the 8th Ed rulebook of that exact same guy doing his job. He's even got this silly little like whirling lenses on his neck piece. Yeah. I wish it came with the servitors he has in that piece of art though. With the guys like syringes for fingers. I wish those were models that came with them.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. I like the rules on the new Apothecary too, bringing guys back from the dead.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Although, like, weirdly, he can't do if a guy runs away, which means you got to keep track of when models run away. But whatever.
We do not. Listen,
anyway, they'll be 10 re-rolling it or whatever.
You don't waste time healing cowards. All right, you let them run. Let them get them the fuck out of there. We don't want them.
Cowardice is its own punishment.
It certainly is. As we mentioned earlier, there's new intercessor models that they put in that little teaser video. The new captain model that we've already seen. What else is new coming up?
The Reavers. Kit with the grappling guns and shit.
Yes, the actual box. The grappling... Okay. I like the idea of the shooting grappling gun with a little cord going off, whatever, but how the fuck are you going to store that without it breaking?
You're not.
Unless you have a display case.
No, that's a display case only thing, because like the grappling hook... Like, Marines aren't supposed to have fiddly bits, but that's probably the fiddliest bit I've ever seen on a Marine kit. But that rope looks stupidly long, so I figure you just use the ones where they're kind of more packed up. And they've got a bunch of holster grappling hooks you can put in the guys too. And they've got like the tactical bolters with the foregrips and stuff like that. It's a nice looking kit.
I'm very excited. I think that those guys are going to fit very well into the Raven Guard aesthetic and the way that the Raven Guard fights. Maybe not with the rules if they have a bunch of short range guns. Then I'm going to be like, how do I get my chapter tactics to work with these guys? But yeah, we'll figure it out.
But you know what the grappling hooks do, right?
No.
They let you traverse vertical terrain without any penalties. So if you have like a 4-story building in the middle of the table, you can just boop on up there.
Like fucking Batman.
Yeah, and you just turn the camera sideways and just put them up on the wall. It'll look just like the real thing.
That's awesome.
Yep. But so I think that's all there is for releases. I'm like the Space Marine Codex, which is that there's been leaking out there. I'm waiting until I have the book in my hands because I don't want to deal with all that shit.
Yeah,
but
it's coming out this weekend.
Yeah, it's up for pre-order this weekend, isn't it? Or no, it's already out.
It was up for pre-order last week, and it's going to be in stores on Saturday.
Ooh, sweet.
Too bad we're not going to get it though.
I should shop soon then.
Because we're going to be somewhere on Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to be at the 8th edition Pyrevore Welcome Party in New York.
That's right, with our friend from the Something Awful forums, Peter, a.k.a. Buffalo Chicken, nice enough to invite us out for that. I am pumped, my man.
Dude, it's going to be a romantic weekend in his cabin in the woods.
I'm going to bring a lot of beer.
I think I might have a hard time doing that on the bus, but maybe I'll try.
I'm driving up, so...
Enough people seem to enjoy drinking on the bus, so why don't I start?
Yeah, just get drunk on the bus. So before we move into our next thing, I just want to touch base with something that we were talking about last time in tables. And I played with Greg Hess over the weekend of...
Greggles himself.
Greggles of feedyournerd.com. Everybody should go there and check it out. And... he had one of those folding 6x4 tables that you mentioned last episode. What are they called again?
Flavortown.
And so I just wanted to talk about using them. It was great. It folds up. It's pretty storable if you have an apartment and you need to make room for your actual life instead of having a gaming situation up all the damn time. It says it supports 25 pounds like per square foot or something, but I don't trust it. I wouldn't, if I had one of those things, I wouldn't lean on it.
Fair.
And he was like, yeah, try not to lean on it like while we're there. I wouldn't say it's flimsy, but I wouldn't say it's sturdy.
I gotcha.
But then again, it's a folding table.
Yeah, you're making some concessions for the storability.
So I think it was a great product, and I might look into buying it because I could use a folding situation like that at my place for gaming.
Yeah, because so just to give some context for anyone who didn't listen last time, or if I didn't even expunge in this last time, it's a folding table that folds out to 6x4 pretty much perfectly, so you can put a fat mat or a Realm of Battle board or whatever on top of that. That's what we did at Greg's
place too. It was a fat mat with a bunch of terrain on top.
Yeah, but it folds up super compact, and it's made of aluminum, I think, so it's very light, and you can move it around and transport it and unfold it very easily. And for folks like you and me who live in apartments, that's pretty ideal.
Yeah. So that was a really cool experience for a lot of reasons, but the table was definitely something to mention that worked out pretty well.
Very cool.
So I want to talk a little bit more about 8th edition and how we are learning and playing in 8th edition.
Yeah, we've both played a few games now, so.
So I think I might be starting to get the hang of the Imperial Guard.
Oh, because I know you were... You called me at least once, borderline frothing mad about how bad the Guard were doing.
Right, and I think I'm figuring it out. I have to play totally differently than I've ever played with my Guard before since in 7th edition, which took me a while to figure out, but it's I'm getting there, and I've discovered that the secrets are brigade detachment, and brigade detachment every single game. If you have enough points to do a brigade detachment, bring a fucking brigade detachment. And even at 1,500 point games, which are in 8th edition pretty small games when compared to the previous editions, bring a fucking brigade detachment. 40 points is all it takes for one troop choice.
Yeah.
Bring one. Bring 6.
Try this one simple detachment to win all your games of Warhammer 40,000. Local doctors hate him.
Yeah, all those fucking rerolls. You get 12 rerolls with a brigade detachment.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the other fucking stratagems do. I don't care. I just use them for rerolls.
Yeah,
sometimes every now and then I'll be like, oh, there's one guy left in a combat and I really need him to not run away. Boom, 2 points. Yeah. I did that against Greg. He had an orc unit, and I had one sergeant who was left alive. And I was like, I don't want that orc unit getting close to me next turn. I don't want them charging me, so I'm going to keep them in combat for a whole nother turn. Yeah. And just by doing that. But when you have 12 fucking points to spend on stratagems, it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
That melted gun didn't do enough fucking damage. I rolled snake eyes on the damage thing. Well, fuck it. I'm gonna use a reroll to reroll that fucking one of those dice and get better than 1.
And I played a game with my Guard. Actually, I think the day after whatever we recorded last time too. And I took a brigade detachment and battle forge list, and I had some other shit. So I had a buttload of points to spend. Not 12, but I had a bunch. And I had enough that there were some things where the scenario we played, Blitz. We played a Blitz game, and there's a attacker and a defender. And I was the defender. And if the opponent gets into this one table quarter, you can play a point to put out these mines. And on a 6, any unit takes I think it's any unit must roll a die, or every model must roll a die. And on a 6, they're dead. So he drove his battle wagon that was repairing itself and had a force field around it every turn. He drove it up there, and I was like, all right, I'm rolling this, and I failed it. I'm like, you know what? I've got so many points, I can afford to blow another one and roll this right now. And granted, it didn't actually work, but it was still really cool to have enough of those points that you can account for things like that or try to mitigate things like that.
One cool thing that Greg did in our game, I killed his Stampa, and he did not roll a 6 to see if it exploded. So he re-rolled it, and he rolled a 6.
Oh boy!
And then everything within 2d6 inches took 2d6 mortal wounds.
Oh.
And it was very close to my lines, so a lot of stuff died. But the Stampa died because of my second point on my show notes here: the fucking Shadow Sword.
Oh yeah, that thing's good, isn't it?
The Shadow Sword did 30 wounds to the Stampa in one shot.
Oh, because how many? I remember a while ago you were talking about you were just sitting around your room rolling dice alone on the floor, probably in the dark.
It was at my desk, and it was daytime.
Okay.
So
Don't tell
fuck
anyone how I live.
Yeah, and I did 43 that time. I only did 30 this time because he had a mech with a KFF in there, sort of 5-up invulnerable save. So he saved one of the wounds. But let me tell you something about that fucking Shadow Sword, dude. When you pair it with something that gives it rerolls, like Yarick or a Trojan, it is a monster. It just, you delete a unit or a large model every turn. Did that? It took out a Gorkanaut in one shot the next turn.
Damn.
That thing's got fucking 18 wounds, man.
That's sick. I thought I was being clever.
Like that.
I thought I was being clever putting a Master of Ordnance next to some Basilisks, but that's scary.
Well, that's the other point I want to bring up, is that the strength of the Imperial Guard is in brigade detachments and all of the indirect firing shit that they can have.
Yeah.
Manticores are back in a big fucking way. Basilisks are back. They're super cheap, 108 points. Fucking take them.
Nice.
Wyverns are crazy good. You bring a Master of Ordnance or something that can give them rerolls, park them in a nice fucking parking lot. One of my favorite things to see on a fucking 40k table. A good, well-ordered parking lot, and just rain death upon your enemies. Those two things make Guard. Brigade detachments at almost any points level, and indirect fire weapons make them extremely strong. Though I think you're going to run into diminishing returns when you get to the higher points games. Now, I played a 2,500 point game against Greg, but he brought a Stampa, which is 1,000 points. So it's still kind of like I had way more stuff on the table than he did.
I get you. Well, in the game I played with my guard versus my buddy Zorks, it was 100 power level, so that's roughly 2,000 points. And it was the Blitz mission has hidden setup for the attacker or for the defenders. Basically, they set up counters for all their units first, then the attacker sets up, then you reveal all the counters. Except his Orc army was like 14 units, which is pretty hardy. And because I'm playing guard at this power level, I had 26 units on the table.
Yep.
Which means I had to put down 26 letters next to each of my guys, conveniently the number of letters in the alphabet, put 26 markers, cut them all out, and hide them all over the table, and then have to unflip every fucking one. And like hidden setup is a really cool thing in theory, but when you have 26 units, it's such a pain in the ass. But that leads to another thing about playing guard. Another thing about playing guard is you're never going to go first, ever.
Well, interesting you say that, but a lot of people have been using the ATC way of starting the game now, which is the person who's done setting up first gets +1 to see who goes first, instead of automatically going first.
That's nice. That's a nice change.
And as a guard player, I like that a whole lot. I know they're using that at ATC earlier this month. I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing that in Nova. I mean, we'll see. We'll find out in a little bit here. But that is one thing about playing guard that was pretty bad. It was, if you're not using those rules, it's pretty fucking lame that you never get to go first.
Well, I have one cheeky use of command points that I thought of during my last game, where basically I looked it up. How we roll off to see when the game ends. It'll be like on turn 5, the player who went second rolls to see if the game ends. On turn 6, the player who went first rolls to see if the game ends, or maybe the other way around. And if you save a command point till the end of the game, you could re-roll that if you don't like the result. So if you need an extra turn, or you need the game to end right now, you actually have a little bit of influence on that, which I really like. That's a cool tactical decision that you can make now, which I didn't even think of until I was on turn 5 of a game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would have benefited from that a couple times. I also played Dark Eldar.
As or against?
Against.
Okay. I figured against, but you never know.
They're pretty fucking good, man. They get rules where basically they get to move around and fire heavy weapons with no penalties, which is tough. And they're fucking brutal in combat. Jay, the fellow I played, he had a bunch of witches and got him into combat and just started wrecking my squads. So it was a good game, man. A lot of fun this weekend playing Greg and Jay. A couple of really cool guys, so I had a good time. It's great to, finally get into the swing of things with 8th edition.
Oh yeah, I'm really warming up too. I'm playing a lot more. I've played more games the last 2 weeks than I played in the last 2 months before that. So after that game, the next week we were hanging out. We were gonna paint. I was at my friend Dylan's house. Same Dylan who sent you that awesome Armageddon book.
Thanks, Dylan. Also, Dylan. Thank you for the Noise Marine you sent too. I'm going to paint him up. I don't know what colors or whatever, probably some sort of horrible rainbow contraption. But I really like that guy too. Thank you.
But yeah, I went to his house. We were going to do a painting day, and it was after I fucked up my shoulder. So like, let's play some games. And we opened up a pair of old GW board games, the old Rogue Trooper and I think Battle Cars. And the rules were like 18 steps, and there's flow charts in the fucking rules. We're like, let's do something simpler, like, I don't know, Warhammer, which is never something I've said out loud before. So
it's nice.
So he gave me his Imperial Fists, like loaned me some of those, and we played a 25 power level game. He accidentally took too many orcs. He took an extra orc squad, but I still ended up having more points than him when we totaled up afterwards. And I crushed him pretty soundly, but it was still cool, like getting to try out some units I don't usually use, like land speeders, and getting to use some models that I'm not familiar with and all that.
Oh, land speeders are pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, but even with how fast orcs can be, like if you can kite them and you have the right heavy weapons, you can do well against them. And I loved that, every single Devastator box ever has had the variety pack of heavy weapons.
Yeah.
Where it's like, a heavy bolter, a las cannon, a plasma cannon, and a missile launcher. That's actually useful now because they can all target different things and actually make an effect, which, again, never in my lifetime have I seen that happen. But,
I was thinking about using, my only heavy weapons I have in my Marines are missile launchers and heavy bolters. Mm-hmm. But I could do a Devastator squad of 2 missile launchers and 2 heavy bolters, and that's not a terrible Devastator squad.
No, that's versatile. Yeah, so the game was pretty cool, but I don't know, there wasn't that much more to it. We played in the super dense table of terrain though, and that was cool. Like it looked like the old battle reports from White Dwarf with all the trees and his buildings that are based on the old like Necromunda buildings, was really cool. I had a game with Patrick, who is a listener of the show. He and I split the Dark Imperium sets a few weeks ago. Hi, Patrick. How you doing? He had his Death Guard, which 14th Legion, 14th episode. Oh my God, it's all going together. There, the reverse segue that makes everything work again. His stuff was all assembled. It wasn't painted yet, but I got to roll my Black Templars out, which I haven't gotten to play them. I didn't even get to play them in 7th. I was still working on them at the time, and that was a cool mission. He hasn't played 40k since like 2000, but it was like table corners and 4 objectives. And again, I won pretty handily. I lost like half my units, but some things of note: Death Guard are fucking hard to kill.
They're really hard to kill.
They're really hard to kill. And like the 5-up save they can take all the time is super, super tough. And his dice were on fire on making the saves. His attack dice weren't rolling quite as hot, but his defense dice were real good. But another thing, basically I had my force, most of my force, which is most like Black Templars on foot because I don't have tanks yet, going up the left flank, and then my Terminators dropped in on the right flank and came behind him and charged, and I used one of my command points to like reroll a charge range to get in close, and I was able to split his force pretty handily. But Plague Marines can even tar pit Terminators now, because those Thunderhammers, those Power Fists, those things used to wound them on 2s, wound them on 3s, which is not something I even thought about. So it took like 4 turns of hammering away to kill 7 Plague Marines with a 5-man squad of Assault Terminators, which, again, not something I thought would happen. But,
that's nuts, dude. The Death Guard are crazy resilient.
Yeah.
Which is how it should be.
It is how it should be. But like, I was never even able to kill either of his Plague Drones, which were pretty much the only things left at the end of the game, but those things were tough. That being said, Typhus, brutal character. He killed my captain. He killed a bunch of Marines. But a guy who's even more brutal is the Emperor's Champion. That guy's a badass. He gets bonus attacks for like bonus strength, bonus attacks, rerolls against characters and monsters. And in 3 turns, he killed Typhus, one of the Plague Sorcerer guys, and one of the Plague Bell guys without breaking a sweat.
Holy shit.
And rumor has it that I think he has a points drop in the actual Space Marine Codex. So, yeah, he's not to include.
That's awesome. So he kicked ass.
Yeah, he kicked ass. He's a little squishy compared to like Captain. I think he only has 4 wounds, but he's rolling 2s and 3s for everything, and has like a -3 modifier, all kinds of crazy shit. So yeah, I'm glad I painted him because he rolled through a lot of characters.
That's good to hear, man. I'm glad you're enjoying your new model. Not your new models, but your new rules at least.
Dude, my stupid like foot slogging assault Marine army is actually doing pretty okay, and I'm happy to hear that. But let's wind it back to the last thing about dense tables. Let's talk about terrain. Because terrain has changed a bunch in 8th edition, and while it's still important to have a lot of it on the table, its effects in some ways have deteriorated. In some ways, it's become even more important.
Yeah, so one of the first things we talked about when I went over to Greg's this weekend was he said, yeah, so I've got all these ruins out, and we're going to consider all of the bottom floors to be line of sight blocking. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
So it would be like if there's a window or a doorway or something in the bottom floor, you can't see through it. Even if you physically can see through it, you can't. It's line of sight blocking. However, if it like ends, if it's like a ragged edge of a ruin or something, that's still open.
Okay.
It's just the stuff inside the two ends are line of sight blocking. So you could hide infantry a whole lot better. I guess in vehicles and stuff gives you more places to hide, which I mean on the battlefield in 8th edition there aren't a whole lot of places to hide. I thought it was a cool thing, and I read that they've been doing that at tournaments lately.
No, you measure from the windows to the walls till the terrain hides all my balls.
Did it take you 35 seconds to come up with that? Is that why you've been so quiet? Have the wheels been spinning that fucking hard for you?
Entirely.
Yeah, so we also use some impassable terrain, which doesn't necessarily have rules per se in the rule book, but it was basically like this terrain piece. It was a broken down giant statue. It was like this terrain piece. You can't move through it, not even infantry. You can't see through it unless you can see over it if the model is tall enough that you can see over it. But like things that can fly, keyword fly, can move over it.
Makes sense.
So
yeah.
That was I think that was a good touch. But what it turned the board into was kind of like a maze where you could actually hide things. And so if you're gonna try to come at me and get my guard squads like off of an objective or something, you're gonna have to get in there and get behind those walls and get close.
No, I like that. Like, terrain isn't as ubiquitous as it was before, because it used to be like, oh, if there's a model in the terrain and anything is shooting, you allocate to the guy in the terrain or whatever, or everything gave you a 5-up save or a 6-up save or a 4-up save. There was a lot, and any ruin gave you a 4-up save, so just by putting some guys in a building, they were, depending on the model, they could have no effect really if it was like Marines, or if it was Guardsmen, they suddenly became, half again more survivable, but it's a lot harder to get a cover save now.
But once you do get a cover save, like Marines in cover,
they're hard
if you're
to dig
fucking
out.
shooting at Marines in cover and you got bolters or las guns or whatever the fuck, like it's hard to get them out. I mean, fuck if it's fucking Death Guard in cover, they'll be in there all game. You can't root those fuckers out of anything.
Yeah, well, like it's funny because like back in 2nd edition, you had hit modifiers for units in cover, models in cover, and so on. And when they switched to 3rd edition, I was actually reading the Old White Dwarf about this the other day. They're like, it's not befitting for a Space Marine to be hiding in cover. He should be running out into the battlefield and bring the fight to the enemy. And then we had like 20 years of basically non-nuclear escalation in the game, and it became more and more dangerous for Marine to be out in the open. And now it's kind of back to that sort of 2nd ed sort of thing, and I think it's honestly for the best.
I think so too. It's always been to me a pain in the ass when you have a unit like Eldar snipers or whatever they're called, Rangers, when they had like 2-up cover saves, and you're just like, I can spend time shooting at these fuck faces, but they're never gonna die. The whole invulnerable unit thing that was all the rage in 7th edition. I'm glad it's gone, and cover had a lot to do with that.
Unless you're Death Guard.
Well, Death Guard. Okay, so
but
the Nurgle stuff. The Nurgle stuff lost all their fucking shrouded and stealth bullshit, but they gained feel no pain fucking everywhere. High toughness. They're still hard as shit to kill. They're still some of the hardest things in the game to kill. I've heard some things about Necrons being. I haven't played any Necrons yet. Listeners, if you have Necrons and you want to play me, contact at 40kbadcast.com. I haven't played any Necrons yet, but I've heard that they're very tough to kill. Even tougher than fucking Plague Marines.
As long as they're not as tough as when the Jakirian bullshit happened in 7th edition, I think it's still all right.
I haven't played Necrons. I don't think I've played Necrons since like early 7th edition.
I played Craig Sniffin's Necrons at Nova for the SRM Cup, and I didn't really put much of a dent into them, and then he beat me.
I like Craig. He's a good fella.
He is a good bruh.
So, terrain in 8th edition has changed big time. It is definitely not the monolithic sort of entity that it used to be in 7th edition, but it's still a very important part of the game. And I wanted to ask you what you think for what kind of terrain works and what doesn't on the 8th edition table.
I like that it's a lot simpler to worry about, or you don't have to worry about it as much. Because back in previous editions, it'd be roll 2d6 and you take the high die moving through terrain. Unless you have this rule, in which case you roll 3d6, and take the high die. Then you have this rule, and you just ignore terrain. And there's all these varying levels of bullshit you have to remember that conflict with each other. And now it's just, you just move. You just fucking go. And some of them, I like that some of them introduce an extra mechanic where if you advance through the terrain, then you have maybe, you might step on a landmine if it's a battlescape, or if it's, I think, the trees, I think you're slowed down when you're going through when you're advancing. But that being said, one of the points of terrain was to slow units down. And I think there should be a few more things like barbed wire or whatever that do slow units down, because the game is so fast. Anyone who's played against orcs knows how fast orcs can get into your line, that I feel like there should be a few more things in there to slow things down. But that being said, if you make, say, the bottom floor of a ruin impassable, as well as blocking line of sight, that really helps that sort of thing, because I think it even says in the rules you can't just pass through walls anymore. It makes the walls a little harder for units to get around. So I think
infantry can pass through walls.
Maybe, I don't remember. I know vehicles can't, but I think that I feel conflicted about movement, because I like that it's simpler, but on the other hand, I also don't like that not being able to slow you down kind of takes away one of the things that terrain did. That being said, there's things like tank traps, which do work for that. And the interesting thing is they've broken them up more, because tank traps used to provide cover as well as slowing down tanks. Now they just slow down tanks. And if you're behind a tank trap, that's not going to do anything for you. You're just going to get killed.
I do like it that there's less bullshit, less dice rolling for movement through terrain. I do really enjoy that.
Because that stuff slows the game down, not just your models.
Yeah. So one thing that I found is like having different types of terrain on the battlefield can be a lot of fun. Having some ruins or some craters, or maybe even ruins and forest or something. Forest terrain is a lot of fun.
It is,
because you can, if you stay on the other side of that, it'll slow guys down coming through it. You're talking about slowing things down. You don't see a lot of forests in 40k, in 40k tables that much. But hey, maybe they'll make a comeback.
I mean, actually the table I was playing on at Dylan's, he actually has like 5 or 6 of the Citadel Woods, and that made a really lush, nice table. But the problem was a unit was almost never fully in that woods, and unless you're fully in terrain, you're not getting cover saves.
That's where craters come in, and I think craters are the kings of actually giving people cover saves.
Yeah,
because you can just pile your models into the crater, and you don't have to worry about fucking templates anymore. So feel free to do it. I've been putting a lot of objectives in craters lately, because I can just I'm not going to have all 10 fucking guardsmen by the time they make it to the objective, because some of them will have died. You can just pile them in there, stand on that objective.
So one thing, conversely, that I do like about how terrain works, because, let's say your squad of 5 guys is half in a ruin, half out, or half behind a barricade, half out. The 5 guys who are out of the barricade and you take saves in them, they'll just die like regular. But after that, the guys who are behind the barricade do get the cover save. So at that point, you're kind of getting a nice middle ground between a simplistic game design and the super this guy's in cover, but this guy's only half in cover, but this guy's not in cover shit you got in previous editions when you'd allocate wounds to the guy in the best cover save or whatever.
But can't you do that in 8th? Can't you? Because you can allocate to guys with cover saves.
If the unit doesn't benefit from a cover save unless it's fully in the cover.
Oh, okay.
It generally says that in the advanced rules
or
whatever, which are not in the main rules. To find the rules for real cover, you have to go into the advanced rules section. The only real thing I think is covered by the main rules is line of sight blocking stuff.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, and one thing, you're talking about the rules that we all got to remember is that different types of terrain have different rules. Whereas that, it used to be that way. And the woods would be a 5-up cover save, or a hill would be a 5-up cover save, and ruins are 3-up, and bunkers, or ruins are 4-up, and bunkers are 3-up, whatever. But all the different types do have different rules and different effects on the models in them, or the models shooting into them. And I think that your best games of 40k are going to be played on really dense terrain boards.
Yeah, which in some ways that's always been true, but in other ways that's truer now more than ever, because again, bringing back my conflicted thing about movement is if you played in a really dense board, like a really like Cities of Death sort of board back in the day, you can end up with a game where the two armies almost never meet each other because they're slowed down so much.
Not in 8th edition, though.
Not in 8th edition. 8th edition, everyone is going full steam ahead.
Zooming around.
So one of the things I find really elegant that I like a lot is there's some units with, say, a 7-up save, and the only way they can get a save at all is if they're in cover. Like Poxwalkers, they have a 7-up save, and if they're in cover, they get a 6-up save.
Sisters Repentia have a 7-up.
Oh, them too?
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, all right. That's cool. I like that. You get to work in the old cover save system in a way while also working it into the existing armor save system, and I like that a lot. Conversely, I'm curious if they'll ever have things that give you, say, a +2 to your cover save, like, say, super fortified walls, or if you're shooting unit in a bunker, or on the other side of that, if there'll ever be anything with a negative cover save, like, say, moving through a river, or something that would, slow you down or damage you.
So something that would automatically be a -1 to your save.
Yeah.
Like maybe a pool of acid.
Yeah.
Because you're walking through it and your armor gets shittier.
Yeah,
but then when the time you get out of it, you're fine. Armor's back to normal.
Well, I'm thinking like so the cover system as a whole feels kind of video gamey to me, and not necessarily in a bad way. Let's use it for an example. The first Dawn of War game, you had 3 levels of cover, or 4 levels of cover, I guess. In the open, you just deal equal damage to each other. And if one side was in like a shallow crater, it'd be in light cover, take a little less damage, and heavy cover, which would be like a fortified thing, they'd take even less damage. But they'd have to fully be in the cover to benefit from that, which feels kind of like how it is now. But if they're in a river or something kind of similar to that, they'd get negative cover because it would slow them down and they'd make them an easier target. So I don't know. I feel like that'd be a thing to work in if I ever did, say, rivers on a table. But
I think that'd be a cool idea. I mean, certain units can effectively have 1-up saves, like Terminators in cover. Technically, one always fails, but they're ignoring the first -1 to that roll.
Yeah, which is real nice.
Fucking Death Guard Terminators in cover.
That's coming soon.
No,
it's gonna
thanks.
It's gonna be unkillable.
I don't want to deal with that at all. I mean, there's some things that ignore like Nova Cannons on my Eradicators that I will probably never play with ever again. They're just
that good,
boxes. They cost more than regular Russes, and they're only strength 6.
Ew.
They ignore cover, like the added for, but they cost more, and they're only strength 6.
Did you not magnetize the guns?
No, I haven't built separate.
Aw.
Cover, man. Get lots of it on the table, guys. A lot of it. Build up that line of sight blocking cover too, or use what we suggested, the line of sight blocking first floor, because it makes a huge difference, man. If you're like playing up against, like I played against Mike Brent with some AdMech guys the other day, and he had 3 of those neutron laser Onager Doom crawlers.
Yeah,
real scary, those things. But a lot of line of sight blocking terrain, so I was able to maneuver stuff without getting murdered too quick. He eventually did, totally murder me, but it wasn't on the first turn. It took him a while.
Yeah, it's at least turn 2.
Yeah. All right, should we move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
So we wanted to talk with the impending release of the new Codex Space Marines. We wanted to talk about Space Marines, and specifically what brought us to collect Space Marines and what brought us to the chapters that we ultimately chose for our Space Marines to be. I'm going to ask you to go first, Campbell, because you have multiple chapters.
I do.
To talk about, and I only have one. So why don't you give me one right off the bat here?
Well, you always remember your first. My first was Ultramarines. This is just going to be like steeped in nostalgia and shit. But my uncle gave me, for my birthday one year, he gave me just like, I went to the hobby store and I got some models for you. I know me and your dad used to play miniatures games, so here's some these cool sci-fi figures. And he got me a Space Marine Captain and a Space Marine Biker. And it was the old 3rd edition Metal Captain and the Bikers that look pretty similar to how they are today. And I was like, this guy's really cool. And the art on the Biker box had him in this blue and yellow kind of armor, like the old Ultramarines paint scheme. And blue is already my favorite color. And that's just how I painted my first few models. And I was like, this is cool. And when I, did a Google search for how to paint the Space Marine Captain, I got, the Ultramarines art again. And that kind of became the scheme I painted things in. So when I was a kid, I one of the first things I picked up for 40k after the models my uncle sent me was the 3rd edition starter set, which had that full rule book in there. and had these amazing displays with the Ultramarines in that second ed paint scheme with the bright red bolters, the bright blue armor, bright yellow trim on the goblin green bases.
The best art.
And
the best. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like you're like hitting all the nostalgia buttons for me right now. We talked about it before, going through those old catalogs, looking at the painted things, and sorry, keep going, please.
Oh, it's all right. And so many sad 20-something men, I decided to chase nostalgia, and I was like, you know what? I want to have an army that looks as good as that one did back in the day. Because like I tried when I was a kid, but I was also like an 11-year-old using fucking Iron Wind Metals paints, which are about as thick as Elmer's glue. Like they're not great. So I went with those for the Ultramarines, and I got to recapture that scheme, and it felt really good getting that force on the table because I got to reproduce that old scheme. And also, the more I got into the hobby and the more I learned about who the Ultramarines were, the more they appealed to me because I liked the idea of being the kind of straight man in the 41st millennium, because this is a fucking insane nightmare future, and having these guys who are more or less decent and kind of want to maintain order and prosperity in Ultramar, in their region, appealed to me a lot. I liked the Greco-Roman look because I used to play historicals when I was a kid, and I liked, Greeks and Romans and all that stuff. And then when I went into Horus Heresy, I got to kind of double down on that while also introducing a newer aesthetic. So really, with Ultramarines, it's a mix of nostalgia, blue being my favorite color when I was a kid, and the fluff being pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. That's great. It's great to hear a little bit about your hobby experience and what brings you to do the things that you love.
Yeah, and as for other armies, in short, Dark Angels, I was an angsty teenager, and then I was an angsty early 20-something. Space-Wolves, I had a beard and long hair in high school, and I wanted to replicate that. Blood Ravens coming up, I liked the Dawn of War games a lot. Black Templars, I have the nostalgia for 4th edition and 3rd edition, and that's just where they were at, so I want to kind of reproduce that and have fun painting black, because I hated painting black on my Raven Wing, and I wanted to figure out a way that was fun to paint. And I liked that look, and I liked that style, and that's why I collect Black Templars too.
So I have Raven Guard, and the reasons I chose Raven Guard are not as nostalgic or emotional as you. But so the main reason I chose Raven Guard are because I like birds. And I'm serious. I grew up, my dad is big into bird watching, and so am I. And I love birds, and a Space Marine chapter named after birds was like, hey, wait a second, this is pretty cool. Also, there were pictures of Raven Guard models. Like you might say, like, Dan, why didn't you choose Hawk Lords, or why didn't you choose that Space Marine chapter name generator that's like making the rounds right now? I rolled one up, and it was the Screaming Hawks, and I thought that was a really good Space Marine chapter name. But so it was they had pictures of Raven Guard Marines, so I could copy that and do it, because that's very helpful for me as far as painting goes. And they weren't all that popular at the time. I'd never seen anybody have Raven Guard before, so I was like, okay, Marines, very popular, yeah, but I don't want to do Ultramarines because they're everywhere. I don't want to do Blood Angels or Space Wolves or Dark Angels or whatever, because they're all over the place. I wanted to do something that people weren't really doing yet, and lo and behold, a bird-based Space Marine chapter with models and with something to work off of as far as painting goes that's not ubiquitous. Oh, man, that's what I need right there. It's pretty good. I also, the black armor appealed to me because in those days, for me, it was easy to paint because I would paint it black and then dry brush it gray, which is not necessarily very good looking, especially not by today's standards. But back in those days, it was very easy. Now, I'm discovering that black armor is kind of a pain compared to different colors because you have to work so deliberately to make it look good. But I'm sticking with it, man, and it's great. And other things that I liked a whole lot about them, they're all into the stealth warfare, which I felt made a lot of sense. Even though they're 7 foot tall, giant supermen in huge suits of plate armor, still kind of made sense that they're like, not sense, but it was a cool idea that they're leaping out of the shadows and attacking when unexpected. And they had a lot of guys with jump packs, and I like dudes with jump packs. Always
It's a little different from other Space Marine chapters, too.
Yeah. There's not really... There isn't really a Space Marine chapter based on stealth and infiltration and... there used to be rules in 5th edition, maybe, or 4th edition, where you could have a bunch of your Marines just infiltrate. Mm-hmm. Rimguard could just be like, we're just going to infiltrate this Tactical Squad or infiltrate this Devastator Squad or whatever. And you could pull off amazing first-turn charges with your jump pack guys because you could fucking infiltrate them, and you'd had to be more than 18 inches away or something, but you were fleet and could charge, and so you'd be like, oh, look, my guys are in your face on the first turn. And there's outflanking. When outflanking came a thing, that was another cool way to use them to protect your guys so they wouldn't get shot the fuck up before they started assaulting. But no, I just thought that their way of battle was cool. I thought they looked cool, and they were birds. So I was sold, man. I've been a bird bro for a long time, Campbell. You might not know this about me, but I've always been a bird bro.
I'm well aware of Dan Bird.
I want to see a Space Marine army based on Guy Fieri.
Oh, dude, that would be that should
would be the Legion of the Damned. Hey!
Oh,
ding 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 ding! Zinger Dinger left the show, ladies and gentlemen. We had contract disputes with it, but
I thought it was because he was underage and he couldn't legally be on the show.
Oh no, we had contract issues. He was demanding too much money.
I know.
Legion of the Damned, Guy Fieri Marines.
The Flavortown Fighters.
They take you to Flavortown every time they show up, man. Do you think that the Inquisition is okay with the Legion of the Damned?
No. In the old fluff, they were like trying to find them real bad.
Do you think they're trying to find them to kill them, or do you think they're trying to find them to like interview them? No, I'm not talking like after a baseball game, like, hey, Legion of the Damned.
Ooh, what a scoop!
You guys had a lot of good shots today. A lot of good plasma cannon shots. Can you talk about that for a minute? Legion of the Damned guys like, you know what, I'm just a team player, just out here trying to do my job. I thought the rest of my squad did really well too. You saw Brother Infernus there with that bolter shot in the third turn. It was really great. I don't want to take all the credit. Just glad to be part of a team.
Just want to say, want to thank my mom. Want to thank the Emperor. Brother Antilochus.
The Emperor touches me in all parts of my life.
Brother Antilochus, miss you, buddy.
I like the idea that the Inquisition is just reporters. They're not like the Spanish Inquisition, but they're just like the New York Times of the 40k universe. Oh, what a scoop! We got some hot news here. The orcs are invading.
Toby determined, Ordo Malleus. What do you have to say about the orc incursion in the Ultima Segmentum?
Interviewing demons. The Ordo of Malleus they didn't kill demons, they just interview them. Excuse me, Angarath, the Skull Taker. What have you got to say about these skulls here?
Not enough. Interesting point. Back to you.
Oh, man. Back to you, Cotiaz.
With the weather.
I don't even know what voice that is. I don't even care. It's good. Okay. That was a good little segment. Let's move on to Factor Fanfiction. The only reason that people listen to this show, as Campbell dies in the background.
It's all right. I can still do it. Coach.
I can make it.
Put me in.
I can do it. Put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play. 40k. Ooh, yeah. I was like, I'm going to have to, as I was singing that, I was like, I'm going to have to edit that out because it's stupid singing. But now I added 40k to it, so it gets to stay in the show.
Instead of stupid singing, you should have just waited for like 35 seconds while I talked so you could come up with a half-decent joke about it.
Go fuck yourself.
Hey, I'm sorry. It's a pro Campbell move. I'm sorry if you can't replicate it. Was it worth the wait?
It was so worth the wait. Okay, give me some sweet literature, please.
This is a literature-style paragraph, yeah. A low fire crackled in the scorched hearth. A large fur rug lay in front of it, light reflecting off the luridly colored, microscaled fur. Massive bare feet rested upon a naked slave boy, while another nubile slave anointed the feet with pungent, cloying oils.
I know what this is.
Another slave brushed the attached legs with an electroprobe, lightly stimulating the seated form. The sensuously shaped chair was wrapped in human skin, with emphasis made by the maker to preserve the sexual organs of the slain. With the whip crack, he was pulled back to reality.
Wait, did you say whip quack?
With whip crack, he was pulled, boom, back to reality. He watched with no great pleasure as the slave whipped the seated form. The whip was made of the tail of a long-extinct creature from Terra, its kind forgotten to the sands of time. A low moan issues from the man he watched. Pleasure. Sir, it is not time to give rest to these banal pleasures and take our leave to the carnal chambers, he softly intoned, sounding like Skeletor. Fuck off, murmured the seated man, his pronounced lisp escaping. Moments pass as he watched the undulating form of his master.
How does you pronounce the lisp escape on 2 words that don't involve any S's? Is it that pronounced?
Fuck off. Fine, off we go. Off to your favorite chamber, the master intoned. The 2 massive humanoids rose as one and strode down the corridor. Upon entering the chosen chamber, each donned leather straps. They assisted each other with their placement, tightening them around wrist, ankle, throat, and waist. Woven into the straps were dark iron rings. To those rings, they clipped into harnesses that were strung from the ceiling. With a tug, the 2 men were lifted off the ground and began to swing. Perfume sprayed up at them, while oils and lubricants rained down from the ceiling. They swung towards each other, closer and closer with each pendulous swing. They each grew more and more excited as they swung and positioned themselves in the straps for what was coming. With an explosive slap, the 2 crashed into each other. They both exclaimed with a mix of pain and pleasure. They hung, each entwined with each other, Fulgrim's massive penis firmly entrenched in Fabius's throat, while Fabius was elbow deep in Fulgrim's asshole. They ground against each other for what seemed like an eternity, until at last, they apart from each other. They what apart from each other? I do not know. Fabius coughed and sputtered as he regained his breath, before shouting, "Is all that jizz you have for me today, Nancy boy?" "Fuck off! Fuck you and the pencil you call Failbeeth," yelled Fulgrim. They each landed on the floor laughing at their banter. They walked from the chamber to the shower, fingers in each other's buttholes, laughing the whole way. The end.
Oh, man. Unfortunately, listeners, I know who wrote that and why they wrote it and who they wrote it for. That is indeed fanfiction by your friend, our friend at this point, Dylan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is his piece of literature called I Made This for Dan. Period. I describe it as Cirque du Soleil with dicks.
Cirque du Soleil with dicks. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, no, it's pretty all right.
Maybe one day we'll do a Factor fanfiction that doesn't involve dicks.
You know, with how much fanfiction was sent to us for the challenge we recently did, it's going to be a bit.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's like there's a theme amongst our listeners. That's what we get for talking shit about Slaanesh as much as we do. Everybody gets all horned up on Slaanesh stuff.
Dude, we set the tone pretty early on, and it stayed.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
Dude, all right, man. I can't blame you for feeling randy after listening to our voices for an hour plus.
Not when they're saying words like that.
Like undulating and Fulgrim's asshole.
Pendulous. I like that. All right, it's time. It's time to go. It's time to get on out of here. So you can reach us on various forms of social media, like Twitter, where I am at DB_sleazy, and Campbell is at BrotherSRM. You can also reach us via email at contact@40kbadcast.com. Send us your emails. Send us pictures of your armies. That's what I want to see. I want to see pictures of your armies. And if you send us cool pictures of your armies, we will post them in our show notes so other people can see them too.
You can be part of the 40k Badcast community that apparently exists now.
It does exist. Man, maybe we should do a Facebook page or something.
Yeah, probably. We should also start the hashtags 40k fuckboys and 40 and Badcast badboys on the Twitters and see where people lie. But I have a feeling it'll be like 3 people who contribute, and that'll be it.
I have a feeling that the 40k fuckboys, my squad, are already contributing in many ways that cannot be quantified like hashtags, because the 40k fuckboys are way better than the Badcast badboys. And you don't have anything fucking to say about it because you know it's true. Or wait, are you taking 30 fucking seconds to think up a witty fucking remark?
Maybe I was until you interrupted me.
I want to thank Greg Hess and Jay, whose last name I don't know, both of feedyournerd.com for some fun nerd stuff. You all should go check that out. That's feedyournerd.com. We played a couple of great games over this weekend. Greg invited me out to his house in Gaithersburg. Really fun time. Can't wait to go back and play some more.
Oh, solid. Similarly, I'd like to put a shout out to Patrick. Thanks for playing again with me. I'm looking forward to our next game. It's cool to meet listeners of the show. And by Dylan, I'm fucking texting you probably right now, so whatever. Hi. But more importantly, Cam Hammer's back. My YouTube show.
Hey.
I'm making videos again.
Hey!
So,
is anything new up?
right now, there's just a video where I basically go like, hey, everybody, I fucking hurt myself. I'm back now. And honestly, I was surprised because YouTube comments are fucking terrible, but mine are actually pretty nice. And I got a bunch of people being like, oh, just, it's important. Your health is important. Don't worry about taking time off. It means you'll be able to feel better. And it's like, oh, it's just work. Just come back when you feel better. And like a lot of like hearts and a lot of really supportive things. And one guy was like, sent me a message like the day before I put that video out being like, hey, is everything okay? I want to make sure nothing bad happened to you. And I'm like, you guys are really nice and you don't even know me, which if you did, you probably wouldn't be as nice. But
that's a lie. Everybody likes you.
Oh, shucks.
But yeah, so out there is that little announcement video. I just finished cutting a video today about whether or not you should start 30K. That'll be coming out in about a week. And
can you give us a one-word preview as to whether or not you should start 30K? Okay, fine.
But yeah, so that video is done. That's in the can. That'll be coming out in a week. And right now I'm recording another video, which will be out 2 weeks later.
So if you are Pete or his friends up in New York, we cannot wait to see you this weekend. We're going to have a ton of fun and drink a lot of beers, and it'll probably get real weird at multiple points in the trip.
Yep, I will. Oh, shit. Maybe I should make a Cam Hammer video about that whole trip, too. I did one for the Philadelphia Apocalypse game, so why not? But anyway, you can watch those videos at youtube.com/CamHammerShow and enjoy them. Or don't. Tell me. Please tell me. I'd like to know why you do or don't.
Campbell, I wish you would tell me about an inspirational quote you've discovered from Warhammer 40,000.
I will tell you an inspirational quote. Thought for the day. There is nothing to fear but failure.
Ain't that the fucking truth? Ladies and gentlemen, we're the 40k Badcast. We're bad at 40k. You can too.
So can... Okay.
Something to say?
Is it... Oh no, is it before we make a Badcast, you can too, and so can you?
I don't know. It's whatever you want it to be. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time on the 40k Badcast. Oh boy, we're good at this.
We are so good at casting pods.